Welcome to part 3 of the video with Healthy Mommy and Healthy Dad. Here's what we talked about previously. What were some of the bad habits that you've let go of?
How long is this video?
Do either of you miss your old way of eating? You can be honest. Each of your favorite meals. What do you do when you're really craving a non-compliant food? And now let's get into this part of the video. Hello my honeys, if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Emmie. I'm a nutritionist and the creator of the Slim on Starch program where you work with me as well as a mindset coach and a nutrition coach to lose weight on a plant-based diet. Go to healthyemmie.org and apply to work with me. For my client Lauren, my parents have both been dabbling in the vegan documentaries and they're becoming more interested in a whole foods plant-based diet as they learn more. Is there any advice that you would give to two 60-somethings who are considering this lifestyle?
I think for us, cooking is joy. I dig, and you even like some of the recipes that I make. Last night we had people over and we didn't put on a 7-course meal. It was Mexican food at the dining room table and we got rave reviews. So I think between DoorDash and Uber Eats and all this other stuff, I think people are getting complacent that eating is just a function of who delivers it to your house. But I think when you make it yourself and you put a little bit of love into the recipe, it tastes that much better.
That relates to one of the other questions that is on here, which is, are there any sort of family recipes or go-to recipes that you had beforehand that you had to let go of, and how did that transition go?
I think we let go of components of certain meals. Instead of pasta with meatballs and sausage and lots of oil, we just have pasta with maybe some vegetables. So it just changed a little.
Right, and then on the special occasions like chocolate cake on your birthday and that kind of stuff, those special recipes can stay because that's what you eat 5% of the time, but 95% of the time you're doing the whole foods plant-based.
Right, exactly.
And still doing the special things like pizza night, just you do it without the cheese, and Mexican just without the beef.
Right.
So it's nothing crazy.
Or cheese, or sour cream.
Right.
You know, and our guest Denise says you don't even notice that they're not there.
Right, Carol did say that. I don't even miss the cheese.
Replace, don't restrict. Tips for getting my husband to join me. He won't watch Forks Over Knives or What the Health, and he always cooks with meat.
First question I would ask is who does the shopping? I do the shopping, I shop off a list, and I stick to the list. Rarely do I buy something that's not on the list. I think that's the first place you start, because if it's out of sight, it's out of mind.
You can also think about maybe trying a Beyond Burger or something that will at least start the process to know that this is possible. I don't know why people will not watch these documentaries. I really don't, but I think if you can start out slowly.
As a guy, you know, you got to eat meat because that's the masculine thing to do.
Yeah.
I won't name any particular family member that talks about what I eat is ostrich lettuce. There's no such thing. You know, it sounds wimpy in a non-masculine type of scenario. And
as a man, you don't want to have to get to the point where your cardiovascular situation requires you to stop eating this way. I'd be a little more open-minded.
Yeah, that's usually the way it goes with people, is they don't change until something like that happens.
Yeah.
But when you look at the strongest animals in the world, what does the ox eat? What does the gorilla eat?
Right.
These are all herbivores, the strongest animals in the world.
a guy said to me one time, Thurlow, if you ever met Thurlow, was talking about animals that lap water eat meat, and animals that suck water don't eat meat. So think about that. You know, you think of a lion. What does a lion eat? And then you think about gazelle at the edge of the pond with the alligators waiting for them. They're not lapping water. They're just like humans.
When you eat the plant-based protein, you just go straight to the source, because where do you think, you know, when you eat a cow, where do they get their protein?
Right.
They're eating grass.
Cutting
so
out
it's
the
just cutting out
middleman.
the middleman. And the more you eat, the higher up the food chain you go, the more bioaccumulation of all the things that we don't want. This is why these huge fish that people eat are so laden with mercury and cholesterol, because they're at the top of the food chain.
Right.
Kathleen says, how do we make it appealing and cool to the dads in their 60s who need it because their blood pressure is so high, but they blame genetics?
I think there's this perception where some people are, I use the term militant vegans. I'm not militant, but what we eat is normal food. We eat absolutely normal food. If you didn't stress the fact that it was a vegan meal, what we had Mexican food last night, or tofu ginger, which is, I know, look it up on the Healthy Dad. It is absolutely legit. The veggie burgers. that I make. It's absolutely legit stuff. We used to have hamburgers and french fries. Well, we now have veggie burgers and air fried fries. And guess what? They all go. No matter how many I make, we eat them all.
Yeah, stay away from the V word. The word vegan scares people. What people love though is they love hearing what the new superfood is. So if they hear that beans or blueberries, so if you make the goal, I think you should start eating more beans, more blueberries, start having oatmeal every day. None of the foods that they eat, like they've talked about, are crazy. They eat rice, beans, corn, potatoes. It's stuff that everybody eats. It's just the meat and the animal products were removed. So start eating more of those plant-based foods and crowd out the other stuff, as opposed to stop eating the meat, stop eating the dairy.
I would say to the men, from a women's perspective, what is attractive to women is not a man with a big portly belly. A man who's current and educated and open to new things is attractive to women.
I completely agree. Hey, if you are enjoying this video, please hit the like button and subscribe. It really supports my channel. This is from Michaela.
Michaela?
Yeah. She says, how can I educate my parents in a loving way?
When you have them over, cook a delicious meal.
Yeah.
My story hasn't changed, and don't stress that it's quote unquote vegan. You have somebody over for dinner and you have a nice pasta dinner. Who's going to turn down a nice pasta dinner? They might wonder where the sausages are, but if you have everything else but that, you have 9 out of 10 things.
I also think, I know Michaela's dad is an animal lover, and if moral you can connect those animals.
Monty.
I know how much he loves that dog.
That's very true.
Animals are animals.
You know, they say the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. And if the goal is to get him to eat this way, you may not want to start with the documentaries and the books. Why not just go straight to the goal and start feeding them these foods? You also can get things like Purple Carrot or Mama Says, these meal delivery kits. Social situations is the next topic. I love HM and HD videos. They both look so much younger now. Now that they're pros, do they entertain? And if so, what do they like to serve their guests?
Well, we don't entertain that often, other than, say, like if you came over, or
family, close friends.
Those people know what they're in for. And last night's Mexi was delicious, or if we do tofu ginger, or if we says, hey, we ask somebody, do you like eggplant? Now, people either like eggplant or don't like eggplant. There's no middle ground. And that's what I do. I'll find out, I'll say, listen, this is what I'm thinking of doing. You okay with that? And we know there's certain people that really like eggplant, and that's what we have, and everybody's happy about it. And I think on the going out, again, we're in bed at 8 o'clock, so we're not going out to dinner all that much. But again, our circle knows, and Lisa's circle of friends, they make sure that if it's at somebody's house that she's accommodated, or if they're going somewhere that they know that there's something, or she does her homework, because you can do that now. You go on and say, okay, here's what I'm going to be able to get.
If we're going to a restaurant.
And our circle is finite enough that it doesn't cause us any issues.
There's so many fantastic recipes on Forks Over Knives and just Googling plant-based recipes that you can make a gorgeous meal with all these different colors and tastes and textures that's plant-based, and people will love it. Like Carol and Bobby said last night, they didn't even miss the meat in the Mexican food because there was so much variation. The other thing is, if you are going into these social situations, have an open and honest conversation about exactly what you're doing and what's going on. I've had this conversation with clients recently. They're so worked up. They overestimate the worst case scenario about what's going to happen when they tell people what their dietary preferences are, and then they do it, and I go, what happened when you did it? And they go, nothing.
Right. And that's funny, because I would think that at this point it would be easier, because so many people have nut allergies and they're gluten-free.
It is.
And wait staff and restaurants are ready for you.
Right. For sure it's easier. People think, once again, that you can control what other people are going to think about you, and you can't. Whether you eat meat or not, their opinion is going to be their opinion. So just do you, tell them what's going on, and eat the food and move on with the rest of your life. What do you do when you're invited to somebody else's house for dinner?
Nobody invites us.
People pretty much
know.
Yeah, they pretty much know. But even if it was someone, say we were going to someone's house that we didn't know well, whatever they're preparing, surely there's got to be something that you can eat. And even if there isn't, it's one time. Don't fret.
I think there are folks that, I won't name any names, but I think there's someone who they're kind of afraid because they're not sure how to go about it.
Yeah. Food is a really sensitive topic in health and in body image and all of that. And so it can be kind of intimidating when you say to somebody, somebody, oh, I eat a plant-based diet. And if they seem to be kind of worked up about it, you can send them a few recipes and say, any of these will do if you just want to cook these.
Right.
And that happened recently when we went down to our friends in Rhode Island. They want to cook dinner. He says, but we don't, we're not sure. I said, cook up some pasta and we have some sauce and I'll bring a salad and it'll be great. And it was great.
Fine.
And these kids, and they had a couple of their kids and their grandkids, and there was wolfing the food down. It's like delicious.
Who did you visit?
Duke and Nancy.
The last part is personal questions, my favorite. Janaea says, what do you love most about one another?
Well, we've been together a very long time.